Imagine an ocean where the top predator had no teeth, only bone blades, sharper than steel. A world without sharks as we know them, where the sea's most dangerous hunters wore armor instead of scales, and jaws could slice through prey like scissors made of stone. Before T-Rex, before even the first dinosaurs, there was an era when the oceans were ruled by creatures so alien that even today we struggle to picture them. This is the story of the Devonian, the age of fishes, a forgotten chapter in evolution's long experiment with life. And in those ancient waters lived one of Earth's first true super predators, Dunkleosteus. This world you're watching Vanished Zoo, where we dive into the lost worlds that came long before us. If you love stories of creatures that time erased, consider subscribing. And let's descend together into an ocean 380 million years old. Just the Devonian period, roughly 419 to 359 million years ago. Continents were drifting into the shape of a new supercontinent called Euramerica, and what would one day become North America and Europe lay close to the equator. The climate was warm, oxygen levels were high, and vast shallow seas covered much of the land. On land, the first primitive forests were taking root. Simple trees, with no flowers, no fruit, and certainly no animals to eat them yet. But below the waves was where evolution was making its boldest moves. Fish dominated every possible niche, from the sandy seafloor to the open ocean. It was an arms race of armor, speed, and jaw power, the first true wave of marine predators in Earth's history. And at the top of that food web was something terrifyingly efficient. Dunkleosteus, the jaw machine. Meet Dunkleosteus terrelli, the undisputed apex predator of the Devonian seas. Imagine a creature the size of a bus, wrapped in interlocking plates of bone that formed a skull like a tank turret. It had no teeth. Instead, its jawbones themselves were honed into sharp, self-sharpening edges. When its mouth closed, those plates ground together, keeping the edges knife-sharp through use. Estimates suggest Dunkleosteus could generate a bite force over 8,000 pounds per square inch, enough to slice through armor, shell, or bone. Its mouth could open in a fraction of a second, creating suction that dragged prey straight in. The result? A weaponized head attached to a surprisingly agile body. And perhaps most terrifying of all, we still don't know exactly what the back half of that body looked like. Only the skull plates are usually fossilized, leaving scientists to reconstruct the rest from educated guesses and comparisons. But however it looked, there's no doubt this was one of nature's first true killing machines. The Armored Fish Empire. 4 o'clock. Dunkleosteus belonged to a strange and now vanished group of fish called placoderms, meaning plate-skinned. They were the first vertebrates to evolve jaws, a leap that changed life forever. Before them, most fish could only suck or filter food. Placoderms turned that gentle feeding into an act of violence. Their bodies were front-loaded with armor, giving them a strange, segmented look, almost mechanical. Some were small and harmless, like Bothriolepis, which sifted mud for detritus near the seafloor. Others, like Dunkleosteus, were mid-level predators built for speed and bite precision. And then came Dunkleosteus, the evolutionary arms race in its final form. In a world before sharks, these armored beasts ruled for tens of millions of years. They were the first to patrol reefs, ambush prey, and even hunt each other. But the Devonian wasn't only about predators. The seas were alive with diversity unlike anything before, and in some ways, unlike anything since. Coral reefs stretched for hundreds of kilometers, built not by modern coral, but by ancient relatives of sponges and algae. Trilobites scuttled along the seabed, ammonoids floated like living spirals, and early sharks, yet compared to the armored fish, they were still minor players. The placoderms dominated every depth and corner of the ocean. Armored herbivores grazing near the bottom, armored omnivores in the shallows, armored giants in the open sea. It was as if evolution had discovered bone armor and decided to use it for everything. But nothing lasts forever, not even an empire of armor. Around 370 million years ago, new hunters began to rise. They had skeletons made of cartilage, not bone, lighter, more flexible, perfect for fast movement. They were the early sharks, streamlined, efficient, and endlessly adaptable. At first, they lived in the shadows of the placoderms, but nature rewards the flexible. While armored fish were limited by their heavy plating, sharks could twist, dart, and evolve quickly. They slowly, quietly, the balance began to shift. The Devonian oceans were becoming a testing ground for two philosophies of survival, protection versus mobility. And as Earth's climate began to change, one of those strategies would prove fatal. Toward the end of the Devonian, something went wrong. Reefs collapsed. Oceans stagnated. The exact cause remains debated. Massive volcanic eruptions, falling oxygen, or perhaps the spread of early forests on land, drawing nutrients and carbon out of the water. Whatever the trigger, the result was catastrophic. Entire marine ecosystems vanished. The placoderms, once masters of the sea, disappeared almost completely. Their heavy armor, once their greatest strength, became a burden when the environment turned hostile. Sharks, however, survived, and from that moment on, the future of the oceans belonged to them. Dunkleosteus and its kin became fossils, incredible, silent reminders of an evolutionary experiment that had reached its limit. Even in extinction, Dunkleosteus left its mark. Its evolution of true biting jaws paved the way for everything that came later, from sharks and reptiles to mammals, and eventually us. The same anatomical shift that gave it bone shears gave all vertebrates their ability to chew. Without these armored fish, the world would be a very different place. So, next time you see a shark slicing through the water, remember that it swims in the shadow of something older, a ghost from a time before sharks existed at all, a time when armor ruled, and the ocean's most dangerous predator didn't need teeth to kill. The Devonian seas were the stage for one of evolution's greatest leaps, from soft-bodied creatures to jawed predators. And for tens of millions of years, armored fish like Dunkleosteus proved that power doesn't always mean permanence. Nature moved on, leaving behind their fossils as whispers of the first true monsters of the deep. And this is Vanished Zoo, exploring the worlds that time forgot. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.